Hello, welcome to English. So I want to spend a little bit of time sharing some notes about hyphens and dashes and the differences between the two to help you out with your lesson today. So our learning target today, we are learning how to use hyphens and dashes so that we can correctly identify them in a sentence, and I know I got it if I can achieve a high score on the matching game. So first I want you to take a moment and think about what is the difference between a hyphen and a dash. Do you know what the difference is? You can pause the video here. When you're ready to move on, you can hit play. So hyphens versus dashes. A hyphen joins two or more words together, while a dash separates words into parenthetical statements. So sometimes they're confused because they look so similar, but their usage is different. So hyphens are not separated by spaces, while a dash has a space on either side. So here is our hyphen. We can see examples here with user-friendly, part-time, and jumpstart, no spaces. Whereas our dash, we have Paul sang his song terribly, and he thought he was brilliant. So you can see there's some spaces here. It's that parenthetical statement. You can think of those also as appositives because it's extra, a little bit more going on and more description. So hyphens, we'll use those when we're writing out numbers such as 31, or compound nouns like when you're talking about your great aunt, certain adjectives such as dark purple, or certain prefixes and suffixes like pre-Columbian or mayor-elect. We'll see those now and then. Sometimes they divide a word at the end of a line, but if you're going to divide a word, we see this sometimes. You're typing, you get to the end of the line, and instead of putting the whole word onto the next line, maybe it's a long one and you can break it up. But the rules for breaking it up, you can only divide between syllables, not mid-syllable. So you have to go between syllables. We never divide proper nouns or proper adjectives, like names. Never one-syllable words. And never separated one letter from the rest of the word. And never separate those two-letter word endings. So here's an example. Like if we were writing in, our word happened to be gymnastics. It has multiple syllables. If we were to break it up, we'd have to pick in between the syllables. So we have here with gym, with that hyphen, and then the next line is started with nastics, and going forward. So that would be how we would separate it. Now with dashes, we have greater pause between the words than just a comma. So sometimes they can signal an abrupt change in thought, such as Mr. Kemishek, at least I think that's his name, is the math teacher. Or we can use it with appositives introduced by words such as that is, for example, or for instance. So here's an example. Certain traffic laws, for instance, making a right turn on a red light, vary from state to state. So we could even just have said certain traffic laws vary from state to state and omit this whole portion. But since this information, this extra appositive here that we want to include, we're going to use the hyphen to set it off as well. We can also use it for parenthetical expression or an appositive that includes commas. So maybe, like for instance, we have this one right here, it has a comma. If we would have just used commas like we've learned about previously, then maybe it would be kind of hard to tell where that positive truly starts and ends. But this kind of gives us that extra way to set off that appositive or parenthetical expression, so that way it's easier to see where it starts and ends, because that expression itself might have these commas. So looking at this example, driving a car, like taking a test, performing in a play, or singing a song, requires concentration. So again, they could have just said driving a car requires concentration, and that would have been a perfectly fine sentence all by itself. But adding this appositive that already has a list separated by commas. We needed to have something a little bit beefier to set it off than just commas. So that's where these dashes really helped us out. So I do have a game for you. You can access that game from our April links. I'll make sure that is posted as well, where you can grab those, try it out. I have a couple games for you. So if you want, you can pause this video and then move over and try out those games. And when you're done with the game, come back and play the rest of this video. Okay, welcome back. How did you do? What was your high score? Just curious on how well you did. Of course, you're only sharing with yourself, so hopefully you did well. If not, you can always try it again. So we are going to do a hyphen knowledge check. So I want you to look at these 6 terms here. Which ones are using hyphens properly? Which ones are not? So I want you to note it on your end of the screen. We have 2/5, groundhog, 35 hour, 200 to 215, very elegant, and video gamed. So which ones are correct? Which ones are not? Go ahead and pause this video. When you're ready, go ahead and hit play. Alright, well, welcome back. Taking a look, 2/5 is done correctly. We had that number example earlier. Now, groundhog does not need a hyphen. It could be, I believe you can even just type out groundhog in one word, but it doesn't need that hyphen. 35 hour definitely needs it. Now, this is where 200 to 215, we would use that dash instead. It's not worded out properly. Very elegant does not need a hyphen. It could just have a space. Video gamed is correct. If you have questions about any of these, be sure to reach out to me. You can reach me through email or text or call. But with that, make sure that you are completing today's lesson 1.06. There are more activities and practice for you within the lesson. Continue working on improving your grades for any other missing assignments, and keep working on any other lessons on your plan. Keep an eye on your feedback as I'm grading things for you. And if you haven't turned in that 1.02 from last week, make sure you do so. With that, have a wonderful day, and I will see you all later. Bye, everyone.